Good morning. Welcome to City Talk. It's a weekly program presented by this station as a public service and as a television program. It's also a podcast to help you be informed on what's going on in the city of Waco and around the community. And today, joining me, we had you on last year at this time, is Clifford Reese, who is the Food Nutrition Director at the Waco ISD. Along with him is Craig Nash, who is the Regional Manager of the Texas Hunger Initiative. And we're going to be talking about the free meals that you all continue to do throughout the year, but more so, importantly, during the summer. Clifford, give us a real quick rundown. Then we're going to get Craig to come talk to us about the overall initiative that's more than this. But Waco ISD provides free breakfast and lunch during the school year.
Correct.
Now, the school year has really kind of turned upside down and ended earlier or whatever else. Were you still doing the school lunches even though school wasn't meeting in person? Talk a little bit about how the COVID thing impacted this.
So over the weekend of March 13, when we got that call, we immediately put into action a policy process to begin meals on that Monday. So Monday, March 16th through till last Friday, we ran basically what USDA, TDA would call COVID feeding, which was, and it changed a few times throughout the course of it. We started off with some community sites. We started having a few concerns about distancing and staffing, so we moved it back to the school sites right around the 1st of April. And we've actually been serving at up to 15 schools since that point in time. When it first started, we were doing breakfast and lunch every day, and then we were allowed to do some take-home meals, so kids were able to take home breakfast and lunch over the weekend. And then it expanded into where the dinner program would also be allowed. So as of last week, and actually continuing through till the end of June, we're going to be doing daily meals, but also on Fridays, we're going to give breakfast, lunch, snack, and a take-home dinner that families can take home to cover over the weekend. The lunch and breakfast program will continue through the end of August. August 30th, we can give weekend meals as well as have regular meals every day. So it's been kind of a varying situation. You know, obviously, as everyone knows, it's been a challenge. It's been very interesting, and it's impacted the summer program. Technically, Waco ISD ended school last Thursday, the 28th of May. So today really was our first formal day of what's normally called the summer feeding program. So we had some changes in what we're doing. We're continuing at 11 schools that'll continue all the way through the latter part of August up until hopefully school starts up again, which is scheduled, I believe, for Tuesday, August 18th. But we've also got some community sites, which is limited this year because some of the sites, in all honesty, I don't think have enough participants to, be offering a program. And in other cases, they're limiting the scope of what they can do. So that's dropped about half, about 50% of what we normally do. And then this summer we're running we have 2 food trucks in the district. We're running those as part of our mobile program, and they're going out to some community sites. Each of them hits 3 sites each day, giving out lunch, but then they also give out the breakfast, the snack, and the dinner program. So it's a different world, but it's a good thing for the children.
Well, it's so marvelous that you all do that, and this is done through the Waco ISD. Now, the funding for this does not come from the Waco ISD budget. How does the funding
It's all
happen?
federal funding. So it's federally funded through United States Department of Agriculture, and then it's managed in the state of Texas by Texas Department of Agriculture.
Okay.
So all those meals are free. Any child between the ages of 1 and 18, makes no difference where they live, what part of the country, what city, what school they go to during the normal school year, doesn't matter. They can go to any one of those 20 some odd sites that we have, including the mobile sites, and get their meals for free.
Very valuable, because the sad thing is there are an awful lot of kids that do not have the proper nutritional meals to help the brain develop and all that kind of stuff. I know as part of the Prosper Waco initiative, they've identified the fact that it's got to have good health, education, and financial literacy in order to be able to be successful in life. And if you're going to be an educated person, you can't do that if you're not healthy. And so you got to have a healthy body. And how do you do that? You have to have good nutrition. So it's a big number of pieces of puzzle to pull that together to have a successful deal. And you all do a great job. And that's why I wanted to have you on again this year.
That's the wonderful thing about also having the weekends available to them. You don't have that roughly 66-hour period between a Friday and a Monday where they don't have some kind of nutrition. There's that bridge that carries them over for those days as well. So I'm extremely happy to hear that that's continuing on.
And these meals are not just a little bag or a sandwich or something like that. You're making some hot meals most of the time.
Monday through Friday, they get a choice of a hot breakfast or lunch, and actually two choices. There's usually a cold choice, like a cereal or something, and there's a hot choice, like a pancake or something like that. Lunchtime the same way. And then Friday, what they take home for the weekend are bagged, obviously for food and physical safety concerns. But during the week, yes, they're hot meals.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing, and that's so important, it's so vital. And again, this is available for anybody. So anybody 1 to 18 years of age. So, you know, you can even be somebody coming over here from another country or something like that.
Absolutely.
You don't ask questions. You don't have to have qualification. You don't have to show any kind of anything.
No paperwork.
A meal is a meal. And
Right.
it's somebody, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, we're doing things a little bit different than we've done in the past. You know, typically we've done more of what's called offer versus serve during the school year, where you would offer certain things and the children would choice. During this program this summer, we're actually taking the food, our hot food, putting it into some kind of a covered container and then laying it on the table, putting their choice of milk, white or chocolate with it, and a little utensil, and then the children come by and select that in order to keep that 6-foot distancing and protect everybody.
It's a new norm we're having to deal with.
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
Absolutely.
Well, it's so incredible that you all do that. And approximately how many meals during the school year do you serve? And during the summer, I know that drops off some.
I mean, during the school year, I mean, on a daily basis during the school year, we do about 7,000 to 8,000 breakfast and about 12,000 to 13,000 lunch, and then we have some dinner and snack programs. During the summer, and I don't know what those exact numbers were, but I know they're roughly about 2,000 a day in breakfast and about 3,000 a day in lunch for a typical summer. I'm not sure
I
what
understand.
we'll see
Yeah, this is
summer, but that's kind of
writing the new
typical
norm.
summer.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure that's part of why I wanted to have you on, because I want to make sure that people, just because school and things, and I know our 3 community centers that were distribution sites in the past, they're closed still. And so when they do open up eventually, that might be past the time when this project is fully underway, which it really already is. So you had to make some alternative plans and not be able to utilize the places that we've been by the Bledsoe Miller, the South Waco Community Center, and the Dewey Community Centers.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Those are critical. We like to be a partner with you, but it's kind of hard to do it when we can't provide the other services
like
as well.
this.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, there's some other opportunities for people to go to. There's, you know, these drive-through sites as well. Our 11 schools have what's called curbside service. Okay. So they can literally drive up and we put the food on the table and allow them to come and select it. Mm-hmm. So it allows more of that distancing and keeps, you know, people out of contact with each other. And that's what we started March 16th. So that process will continue through August.
That's neat. That's really so neat. That's so neat. So anybody's qualified, age group, and then 1 to 18, and of course before the summer you all are in this habit. So now these meals are prepared at your Waco ISD kitchen services, nutrition services location, and then carried to the various locations and everything too.
That's correct. Yeah, we have some buses and some vans and whatnot.
Transportation going up to that. And it's all federally funded, so the local taxpayer doesn't have to worry about their tax monies being involved, all that kind of thing.
Correct.
That's a great program.
I know Waco ISD's been updating. In fact, I had a couple calls this morning. They're updating the website constantly. So because we had a few changes today, some time changes, some date changes. So if they go to the www.wacoisd.org and click on child nutrition, and I think there's even a link on the homepage, it'll take them to the latest schedule, show them the serving time, show them the site, show them the addresses, give them that information. They're welcome to call my office at 254-752-5522 or email us at cns@wacoisd.org, and we can certainly send them information, call them back. email them, whatever way we can help to communicate more information to them, and any questions they might have, locations and whatnot.
Absolutely. Well, I've got the sheet in front of me that actually shows all the different site locations. That's from your website available. It gives you the address and the hours, and make sure there's any questions where you're going to make sure you get that. So check that out, and you can use those addresses, times, and everything to be able to get those free meals for your kiddos, and make sure they're getting a good nutritional meal, because we want them to have a good summer, healthy summer, have some good fun time outside as it is, but also make sure that nutrition part. And when you talk about healthy snacks and things like that, give us an example of that, because I know sometimes that's part of the problem with a lot of parents. They don't know what kind of healthy things they should be doing. I know y'all encourage
we're doing some fresh fruits. We're doing some granola bars, things like that. We're doing, obviously, milk and juice, and probably those are kind of the snacks that go home over the weekends, those type of things. But any of your fresh fruits and vegetables that we can do as well, which kind of as a side note, we're part of what's called a fresh fruit and vegetable program, and obviously that ceased, but they've allowed us to continue that. So we actually have 7 of these sites that are doing fresh fruits and vegetables all summer long, and that's separate from this feeding. So anyone that comes up and gets a lunch or a breakfast as a child will also get either a fresh fruit or a vegetable, and this is done 2 to 3 times a week, so it gives them an opportunity to try some new items out. They're always fresh. So that's also a federally funded program that we're fortunate enough to be part of. So I'd encourage them to, get involved in that too. But yeah, anything that's real low on sugar, obviously you want it to be that. You want something that's going to maybe help them to hydrate during the summer a little bit. Something that doesn't have a lot of calories, but is also carrying either some protein or some kind of nutrition is what we try to focus on.
That's why your title is Director of Nutrition Services rather than Food Services.
That's true.
Food and nutrition, maybe both. But, nutrition is really critical, because knowing the right thing to eat and be able to serve and do all that kind of stuff is so critical. So that's such a great program. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But I want to get talking with Craig. Craig Nash is the Regional Manager for the Texas Hunger Initiative. Craig, tell us first of all the scope. When you say Texas Hunger Initiative, obviously the state of Texas.
Right.
What do you do different than what Clifford and the Waco ISD is doing, or how do y'all support?
Yeah, so we actually work really closely with Waco ISD. We are a statewide organization. Texas Hunger Initiative is a statewide organization. We've now expanded. The Baylor Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty is doing things across the country now, and we can talk a little bit about that later. But we work hand in hand with school districts and nonprofits around the state. We have 7 regional offices. Particularly with regards to summer meals, we assist school districts and other nonprofits in kind of the public face and the community relations aspects of that. One of the things I love to praise Cliff's team about is I don't think people understand how complicated and big of a scale what his team does. I was talking to someone recently and I described it, everyone knows how hard it is to run a restaurant. Imagine running a restaurant every day for 13 to 15,000 customers. All of the planning that goes into that, all of the state or the local, food regulations, food safety regulations. You're looking at food quality, you're looking at food waste, all of the things that go into that. And then you add on that an extra layer of federal and state regulations that are coming, with these funds. And it's just a massive project. So one of the things we like to do is, first of all, be a cheerleader for them in the community. But second of all, help kind of connect them and other nonprofits with each other. So we, for summer meals, I spend a lot of my time, particularly with the community sites. I work closely with Waco Housing Authority to get the word out to their kids. We work with Waco Housing's Community Services Department to make sure their spaces are safe. We work with, of course, this isn't going on now, but summer camp programs to make sure they're communicating well. And so we act a lot kind of as a consultant. Up until recently, we've never really been in the direct service business. So, people hear of us and think that we give food to people, which until recently we have not done that. We've just supported organizations that do that. We, much like Prosper Waco, we are kind of operate under the collective impact model, that we want to bring everyone to the table. We have good relationships with Texas Department of Agriculture, which, as Cliff said, manages all of the regulations around that. And during COVID-19, we joke about how, the regulations are changing almost hourly, particularly in the first few days. There was, USDA would have one regulation, TDA would interpret it one way, then there would be clarification, and there was just a lot of moving parts. So we have a government relations office who kind of keeps our pulse on those kind of moving parts and all the regulations. We also work closely with TDA to find ways to improve the program. We have a statewide program called the Excellence in Summer Meals Program that's right now in our Dallas and Austin areas, and it's basically finding ways for schools and nonprofits to maximize their ability to operate the program better. And it's a recognition program, and we're looking to expand that over the years across the state. So those are just a few of the ways in the summer program that we are connected.
If you just joined us, we're visiting with Craig Nash, who is the Food Nutrition Director for he is the Regional Manager for the Texas Hunger Initiative. And Craig is joined with Clifford Reese, who is the Food Nutrition Director. I got my lines correct up, say, for the Waco ISD, and we're talking about the free meals program and a lot of the Hunger Initiative programs that are impacting the lives of children, especially. Now, does your initiative deal with more than just children, or is y'all's Texas Hunger Initiative or not?
Much of probably about half of our work is around child nutrition, but we also have a lot of work around hunger-free coalitions. I work closely with the McLennan County Hunger Coalition, and we have over a dozen coalitions around the state that we work with. As I said, our model is a collective impact model, so we like to create coalitions within communities that are multi-sector. As we like to say, there's no one organization that can solve hunger on its own, and so it takes multiple organizations. So our hunger-free community coalitions consist of local, state, federal government officials. The faith community is a big player in our coalitions. The business community and the educational community, as well as other nonprofits. So we create these coalitions, and we act as sort of much like Prosper Waco, the convener for these coalitions. We set the table, we help set goals, we help measure goals. We're very big into using research and data to inform the work that we do. We have a research team that works closely with research firms to make sure what we're doing isn't just kind of, throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, but that we see what actually works and going with that. So,
now do you work primarily with federally funded programs, or do you work with other programs? You mentioned nonprofits and things.
Right.
Is this something you look for funding for as well?
Well, so the USDA programs we work with are a huge part of what we do, but we also work with a lot of local nonprofits. That there are areas where the federal programs just don't quite have the reach or aren't like the best fit, and so some of our regions have our privately funded nutrition programs that we work with, food pantries, others, children's feeding programs that are funded by churches. So we work with both public and private organizations.
Well, I figured that might be an impact, is because the federal government can't handle everything, and there's got to be and I know the food banks and things are very much involved in providing services for families as well. Now, let's think about that a little bit further. On family projects, you're dealing with the children primarily, but what are other initiatives for overall families or age groups besides the what we're kind of talking about today?
Right. So, one big area is senior hunger. And so as a part of our coalition work, we work with senior organizations like Meals on Wheels, the city who has, city programs for seniors to make sure they're able to maximize what they do. We also heavily promote the SNAP program, the emergency relief programs that there are new ones going on now, like we were talking earlier, the pandemic EBT, which is a USDA program to help give families funds during school closures and during the COVID crisis. So, hunger is it is a children's issue, but it's from birth to grave issue.
But you have the homeless involved too, as far as that's one of the other things that Prosper Waco deals with, and is the initiative for them as well. So, now do you all get into anything as far as food acquisition to try to either bulk buy or help facilitate the purchasing, or do you all that's just a function of your job?
We're actually part of a co-op that does that. That's grouped together about 25 school districts for that maximizing purchasing power and whatnot like that. But I mean, Craig communicates a lot with me. I mean, we try and keep in constant communication. He has some summer volunteers that make available. Mm-hmm. He was very instrumental in getting a hold of some of the local communities when we were kind of struggling with communication, because a lot of them quite simply aren't at work yet. So he kind of helped collaborate that relationship as well.
Yeah, we have relationships with grassroots community development, Prosper Waco, a lot of people who have, boots on the ground, so to say, we work closely with to kind of have our finger both on the pulse of what's available and who needs it. And that's really very simply what we do is we keep our eyes on what's available, who needs it, and we try to connect. There's
always more need than there is resources and things like that, and you're probably always trying to find those. And
at the same time, there are a lot of resources. One of the things that I often hear from friends of mine about the program, like the child nutrition programs, is there's always this worry of a parent who may not, quote unquote, need the meal as much as someone else, and they're afraid to go take it. And what I always tell them, is these are publicly funded programs, and one of the ways that allows Cliff and his team to keep doing what they do is for them to serve as many of those meals as possible. And so I'm always encouraging families, whether they think they quote unquote need it, although now we're in a time when far more families who aren't typically used to being the ones in need are actually in need. And so we do a lot to reduce the stigma associated with participating in these programs, because they are for everybody. Sure. And the more kids that they can serve, the better the program will run.
Well, I want to get into that a little bit further, not just the children, because I know with a large amount of unemployment that's going on, there's a lot of people struggling to get by and things like that. So in addition to the children, obviously we want to take care of. That's what we're talking about here. But are there programs available for those? You mentioned Meals on Wheels for the elderly. Mm-hmm. Is there anything for families or the parents maybe that will help them get through some tough times like that?
The biggest public program is SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that's run by the Health and Human Services, and that's a vastly underutilized program. A lot of families who have qualified for SNAP just don't make use of it. And so families can go to yourtexasbenefits.gov, I believe, and find out all about that. And that just provides a little extra, and we always like to stress it is supplemental. So, people aren't making a lot of money off of SNAP. There's a, kind of a myth out there that people are like gaming the system a lot. Well, we're actually talking about a little bit of supplemental income every month to buy food, and that goes on a EBT card that they can use right there in the grocery store. So I'm actually working with the McLennan County Hunger Coalition. One of our kind of goals over the next couple of years is to do a couple of things. One, destigmatize SNAP, and to make it easier for people to have access to the registration and application materials.
You say destigmatize. Is a lack of use that you're saying, does that have to do with pride and with just some of that type of thing? And so sometimes you have to, when you're in a desperate situation, as some people may be right now comparatively, that pride thing has to be overlooked to look for the term.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I encourage people to that their taxes that they've paid over the years have gone into making this possible, and if they need to use that, they can. And there's also there's kind of a stigma associated. We won't go too much into this, but over the years people have just kind of demonized people who use SNAP. But it's SNAP is actually one of the most fiscally responsible programs that we have. It puts money, it not only feeds people in our community, it puts money into our local economy. For every dollar that comes into the community via SNAP, something like $1.70 is created. And so it's a win-win for both families who need it and the local economy as well.
Well, that's really why I wanted to bring it up, because those people who need it, they should get it. And I know how hard it is, I'm sure, to deal with those kind of personal problems and the pride that you have in your family, in everybody. But nutrition is so critical. So don't hesitate to take a step and get that benefit that is entitled. You're a public person, a taxpayer, and everything else in this community, and you are entitled to that, and we want you to take advantage of that too. So those are. Now, before we went on the air, you were mentioning Baylor in some of your conversation. Baylor's always such a great partner with the city, and I know with the Waco ISD. Let's be sure to give Baylor whatever credit that they need, because they get involved in so many things, and they're undersold as far as letting them get credit for what's going on.
Right. So we're actually a unique kind of entity within Baylor, in that we're housed within Baylor University. We're an initiative of Baylor, and the Baylor Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty, in addition to the Texas Hunger Initiative, does work with migration studies. We work, and one of the reasons we created the name the Baylor Collaborative is we're doing a lot more than just in Texas as well. During the pandemic, we have worked with the USDA on a project that we worked on last summer as a pilot project in some rural areas of Texas. So it's really difficult in rural areas sometimes for kids to get to the summer meal sites that are in a city like Waco. Cliff, we have 10, 15 now, and usually 25 to 30. There's usually one in every community. Well, in some rural communities, a family may have to drive 20 miles to their summer meal site, and so that just makes accessing those sites difficult. And USDA TDA has recognized that as a challenge for years, and they've tried several different things. And this Meals to You program that we began operating last summer, and now we've expanded. Last I heard, we were in 38 states, and I think by the end of this week we'll be in all 50 states, serving meals to kids in rural areas. All the meals that they're missing from being in school, breakfast and lunch, are going in to boxes and being delivered to their home address. And those are all non-perishable meals.
That's great. That's great. So nobody in the state of Texas should go hungry.
Right. One of our kind of taglines that we say all the time is there's more than enough resources, there's more than enough food in our country that no one should go to bed hungry. It's just the challenge is in finding a way to get the resources to people.
Yeah, so it's out there. So we should need to do that. And we need to work as a community together. We need to take care of those neighbors that we feel like might not be getting the proper nutrition, the meals and things. There are programs out there, and we need to, as a community, to work together to take care of those kind of things. Clifford, we got about a couple of minutes left. I want to make sure your program is well publicized because we've talked about a lot of things, but I want to go over again the free breakfast and for free lunches for anybody, one year of age to 18.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, they can go to any of those scheduled times at any of those sites. Doesn't matter what school they go to, where they live in the country, no matter what, those sites are open to them. No paperwork associated that they have to present. They essentially come through and get the meal, consume it. That's about all they really have to do. But kind of like what Craig said, the critical thing is, reach out for communication. If you don't understand, reach out to us. If you're not familiar with it, reach out to us. Communicate with us, and we can get you the locations, the times, when it's served, things like that, with the closest sites to you. I know the state has, they still have...
summerfood.org is the website.
Summerfood.org, but what's 411?
211.
211. Yeah.
211. They can dial 211, and they could literally give them the information on the closest site to them. If they make a trip down to Austin, they can go on 211 and find out where they can access food there. Vice versa. Anybody coming to Waco can access it and find out where all of our sites are.
Give them the website address on the Waco ISD again, too.
So it's wacoisd.org, or they can email us at CNS, Child Nutrition Services, CNS at wacoisd.org, or our office phone number is 254-752-5522.
Very good. Clifford Reese, who is the Food Nutrition Director for the Waco ISD, and Craig Nash, who is the Regional Manager for the Texas Hunger Initiative, been our guests. So much vital information we need to get out to people who do not have any reason not to get good, solid meals, especially the children. Thank you all so much for sharing that information with us. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for inviting us. We appreciate it.
We hope you'll join us again next week for more information about the City of Waco here on the City Talk radio program. This program is produced by the Municipal Information Department of the City of Waco and is provided as a public service by this station.